everyone, Janira here. We're back with another video. This video is going to be a little tiny bit different than usual. You're going to see me throughout the entire video instead of just hearing my voice. So I hope it's not too weird. But we have a special guest with us, my sister Jennifer.
Hi.
She is a huge plant lady, and she has like 70 plus plants. She has a lot. She has a lot of plants. So we're just going to be talking about house plants. And we're going to talk in particular of 3 houseplants that are easy for beginners and 3 hard plants that are challenging. So people who already maintain houseplants will probably already have these plants or could add them to their collection. So let's get started with that. Okay, so first we're starting off with the easy plants, and the first plant is the snake plant.
So this is what a snake plant looks like typically. This one is a moonshine variety. There's different varieties in each category we'll be talking about. But these guys are easy beginners because they can do well in low light or high light. Some even like in Caribbean situations, they typically can live full sun outside. I have one outside and I have a couple indoors too. So they're pretty versatile. And they need low water. You don't have to water them that often. I probably water this one about once every 2 weeks, which is pretty low water for a houseplant, because as we go on and we talk about the more difficult ones, there are a lot of houseplants that need at least twice or 3 times a week waterings, especially in the summer.
High maintenance.
Yes,
basically.
very high maintenance. And these guys can do pretty well in low humidity or normal house humidity. There are some houseplants that decline pretty quickly when they don't have the appropriate humidity, and these are pretty like good beginner plants. There's a bunch of different color varieties you can get, and they look cool, I think.
Yeah, they do look cool. Like you'll see in the traditional snake plant, I'll include like pictures of the ones we have because there's a lot of variations. But in the typical snake plants, they have like a lot of like, what would you call it? Like
almost like upwards growth, like very pointy.
No, like the pattern that they have on their
leaves. It's almost like the scales of a snake.
It looks
very scaly.
The variegations. That's what I was saying.
Yes.
The variegations of like a snake, which is why it's called a snake plant. But there's other snake plants that are like, this one is completely plain. It's just green. And there's another one, it's called like the Black Knight, right?
Yes.
And it has like just a black strip in the middle and then kind of like the variegations on the sides. So they come in different forms, so you can get all 3. I think is there even more snake plants?
There's tons of varieties.
So that's a cool thing. And I also think that one cool thing with snake plants in general is they get like babies right here. So with these babies, you can just take it out of there and repot it, so you have a completely new plant, which is pretty cool because then you don't have to go buy a plant. You can pretty much raise this one on your own, like completely to like this full size. Or you can keep it in the same pot. Like we're gonna repot this eventually, but you can keep this in the same pot and it'll just look very full. So I really like that about snake plants. Plus they're just very convenient. Like a lot of people who want plants, a lot of them aren't like extremely passionate about that, and that's okay. Sometimes you just want plants for like decoration in your house to bring more life into your house. So like this will totally do that. You can put that in your living room and people will come over and be like, wow, this looks kind of fake, but it's healthy and it looks nice.
And all the colors, you can pretty much put it in different types of rooms, different aesthetics. You can design it up, design it down. It's a lot of versatility with it.
Exactly, especially now with like a lot of like design and like houses very like modernized. This would look awesome in that type of like aesthetic and that type of environment. So very simple to take care of and looks great in your home. All right, so for our next plant, it's the spider plant. So this one's pretty big.
Yeah, this one, they are very fast growers. And a major reason why they are so easy to keep is because just like the snake plant, you can put them low light, you can do high light. But obviously high light will make them grow a little faster, but it doesn't have to be any direct sunlight. These guys do well with only once a week waterings. So they're a little higher maintenance than the snake plant, but not by much. And they produce these babies that you can also give to friends. So it'll be like
when they
flower
flower,
stalk.
right?
Yes. I don't know if we have any. Yeah, there's a couple flowers on this one.
We also have like, these were ones we cut off. So there's a lot of babies on here. And here's another example. basically put this one in water to get the roots to grow so then we can later repot it. But like literally you have like 8 plants on here that if you really want to put them in all rooms of your house, you can. So they're very quick in growing and they give you so many little babies.
And there's also a couple different variations. There's a curly spider plant that the tendrils or the leaves come out really curly looking. It looks like a nice curly hairstyle. And then there's one this one's variegated, so that means that it has the inner white stripes here. But there's one that the white stripes are on the outside and the green is on the inside. So there's, again, a lot of different color variations with these plants. And
this is the only one we have, right?
Yeah, this is the only one we have for now. But they are really nice and they look nice in hanging pots. If you want to give like different height variations inside your house, these are great plants because they kind of drape over and create like a cascade of foliage, which is nice.
They do look really good when they're hanging.
Yeah, and they do really well inside the home.
And again, it's like that factor of like if you want some type of decoration with just like plants to make your home look lively, that works just as well. Okay, so the next one is our Apotheos.
These guys are probably one of my favorites because they all come in very vibrant and different colors. I think I have currently 4 different variations of this plant.
And I'll include pictures of those as well, so you'll see how different they can look.
But these guys are easy beginner plants because they are pretty good with watering as well. Typically in the summer, I water these guys once a week as well. Humidity, they don't need much humidity, and the lighting, you could put them in very, very dark corners of your house and they will still grow. But the growth will be just a little smaller than this because I have this one in about
like
medium light.
Yeah.
So it grows pretty fast, but the leaves are large. So the larger the leaves indicates how much sun it's getting. So if you want a nice full plant like this, you would need to give it a little higher light. But then once it starts like hanging out like these guys, you can put them in lower light and they'll do just fine. It's just all about the lighting basically, and the watering is also pretty low maintenance.
This is the neon.
Yeah, this is the neon variation. So the most common one you'll find in big box stores like Home Depot and Lowe's are the golden variety, which come almost like a very dark green, but the more light you give it, it'll get kind of like speckles like this color. But this one is the neon variation, so it starts out a little bit green, but the more light you give it, you can see it's like a lot brighter, like neon.
Yeah, you can see on this leaf there's like a little bit of green, like darker green.
But these guys are fine in most environments. They do well in the winter because that's something else we'll get into. Some plants really decline in the winter because there's less light,
less humidity, things like that.
So these guys are pretty easy. I've never killed one, so they're pretty good to keep indoors.
Okay, so now we'll be discussing challenging plants, and these are not plants for beginners. You definitely want to start with the plants that we were talking about before, but I mean, if you really want to buy one, you can. It'll be difficult since you have no prior knowledge, but when buying any type of plant, you should always do research on the needs that that plant has and the best places to put it, like a south-facing window, etc. So now we're going to be talking about challenging plants. So these are probably plants that people who have had time owning houseplants will typically get. So I would always advise to just always do your research, even if like when she buys a new plant, she knows a lot about plants, but she always does her research regardless. So just like be careful with that stuff because these plants are super, super finicky.
Yes.
And they die just because they want to die.
Yeah.
So first we're going to start with Ficus. So
they're kind of gonna hide us a little bit back here, but these are 2 different types of ficus. This is Ficus compacta, and then this is Ficus lyrata. The most common term is the fiddle leaf fig. A lot of people enjoy the look of these. If you look at a lot of decor magazines, they're typically in the background, but these are very finicky. They like a lot of sunlight. First of all, you will know if you're getting enough sunlight based on the size of the leaves, almost the same as pothos, but
yeah, look at how big this one is.
Yeah.
This leaf is huge.
They grow very large in the wild. They typically are native to tropical areas, which is why they like high humidity, high light, but low water. Inside the home, they enjoy low water a lot more because the conditions are just not perfect. So you will need lower watering for these guys. But that's the mistake that everyone makes because they think, hey, it's tropical, I need to water it more. But that's how you rot the roots. So I actually have one in a plastic pot and terracotta pot. And the reason why I mentioned this is because pots, once you get into the higher level of plant care, pots have a lot to do with how well your plant will do or how bad it will do. So terracotta tends to dry plants out, and for a plant that enjoys its roots dry, that's the perfect condition. But if you have a plant that likes a lot of moist, evenly moist soil, if you put it in terracotta, you'll be watering a lot or you'll forget to water, and that's when your plant starts to decline. So these guys need very specific care, and that's why I rated them as a more challenging plant, because they are very finicky and they're just known to be trouble plants. It's very hard to keep these guys sometimes if you don't really know what you're doing. But anything is possible because if you do the research, just like I did, you have beautiful plants.
Yeah, you can totally just go off of research and just like try your best. Like a lot of times we'll even have trouble with plants. We'll have something we're not gonna talk about in this video, but you'll get like bugs on your plants, and then it's like, what do you do? And that can completely destroy your plants. But on top of that, you just need to know like the proper care for your plants and just go from there. That's how everyone learns anything. You just research and then you just try your best. So if you end up killing one of these, I mean,
they're pretty common in big box stores. So if you do kill them, they're easy to find more in the summer months because that's their season right now. But everyone kills a plant. You have to learn somewhere.
That's how you learn.
Yeah, you learn your mistakes and you know, oh, well, that didn't work out, so I'm not going to do that again.
Exactly. And if you don't want to like get this plant, but you like the look of it, there's so many places who sell like fake plants of fiddle leaf figs that look really realistic that you can just put in like your house for decor. So you can totally go that route because these plants are hard to take care of. It's something probably at the back of your mind all the time. It's like, oh, I gotta do this, I gotta do that. So yeah, but let's move on to our next plant. So our next plant is the Calatheas.
So Calatheas are my favorite plants. So I think
you have a lot of Calatheas.
I think about 20 variations of Calatheas.
And I'll also include some of the pictures in this video so you guys can see like the variations that they come in.
These guys are very difficult to keep. They love high humidity, but they are a more lower light plant. They do not enjoy direct sunlight because they will scorch the leaves, as you can see on this one. I left it in the sun too long.
They'll burn.
Yeah, and if you don't provide at least 60 to 70% humidity, they crisp up and just die. They are very finicky plants. They enjoy distilled or rainwater. They can't handle tap water most of the time.
Do they get the deposits?
Yeah, they get, if you keep them in terracotta pot, the terracotta pot will actually leach out the calcium deposits, and that's how you know how hard your water is. So these guys do not enjoy hard water. They really enjoy rainwater, high humidity, and low light. But not low light where they're in a dark corner, more like bright and direct light.
Yeah, definitely.
So they do not like straight sun rays on their leaves. They typically come from places in South America, so they're understory plants. They live under trees, so they get dappled sunlight, and that's fine. That's their desired environment. But in house environments, they do not like any type of sunlight directly on their leaves. And I actually keep a humidifier specifically for my Calatheas because
or they'll get crispy on the edges. They need good humidity.
I think this is my second largest Calathea, and I got it this size. There was no way I'd be able to grow this one this size because they are, like I said, understory plants. So their growth is a little minimal, but once they start going, you can see it looks like little rolled up paper in here. That's all.
Yeah, these are all new leaves.
So they like evenly moist soil. You cannot let these dry out at all.
And they don't like water on their leaves, right?
Yeah, they don't enjoy water on their leaves. So that's why I said I have a humidifier, because a very common misconception is that misting plants does anything because it just lets the water sit on the leaves, and that's not good for most plants. It actually causes fungal issues. So when you have high humidity plants, you need a humidifier because it gives the ambiance of humidity, but not the direct droplets, because that's not good for
humidity. Is basically just the amount of water in the air, and you're not recreating that when you just missed it, because you're just throwing droplets of water onto it.
Yeah, but these are very hard plants to keep. I have a lot of experienced plant friends that cannot keep these, but for some reason their foliage is so attractive, and there's so many different colors. There's pinks and blues.
They're very beautiful.
They're beautiful plants, but they're very hard to keep. So
yeah, but it definitely is very satisfying when you're actively able to keep these plants that are challenging, and they like thrive in your house, and they look so beautiful. Like they give you something that you really don't get from like other plants sometimes. So when you're picking out, like if you are someone who's already experienced in plants, pick out plants that will give you something new. Like don't keep picking the same fern over and over again. Pick something new, try something new, because you never know what you'll be really good at taking care of. So let's move on to our ferns.
So this is my Maidenhair Fern. I got it with about, I think, 10 fronds, and this is how much it's grown just right now in the summer. There's a bunch of growth back here. Maybe we'll get a shot of it and include a picture of it, but these guys are very, very, very hard to keep. I have this one in a self-watering pot, so basically it's this mechanism where I have a piece of yarn, as you can see here, a piece of yarn that I refill this little reservoir here, and I place it in, and that's how it gets its water, so that I can keep super moist at all moments, because any moment that you let it dry out,
yeah, if you feel the top of the soil, it's very, very like not wet but moist.
If you let it dry out at all, I'll show you what happens. They just fry up and it's gone. Once they get to this point, there's no coming back.
Because where these plants are from, like, are they from like swamp areas?
Yeah, they typically live in very bog conditions, so they are used to having their roots constantly in water. And if you can tell here, the stems are very thin, so they don't store any water in here, and that's why they need the constant moisture. Yeah. Because there's no, like, if you look at our other plants, the stems are pretty large. They can store water in there as well as the leaves. These leaves are paper thin.
They're very thin.
Yeah, the little, I would say like trunks, if you want to call them that, are very thin. Yeah, the stems are very thin, so they need constant water.
Maybe like a centimeter, probably even less.
Yeah.
They're very, very thin. So.
And these guys need high humidity as well, because like I said, they are used to bog conditions. So they need as much humidity as you can provide. Some people actually keep these in their bathrooms because that's the most humid part of the household. And they just need perfect conditions. They enjoy a little bit of morning light, and that's something I'll talk about as well. Morning light is a less harsher light than afternoon light. Afternoon light will scorch the leaves of most houseplants. So you don't want any, well, for some varieties like succulents and stuff like that, they enjoy all day sun. But for varieties like this, like I've showed the Ficus and the Calathea and this Maidenhair Fern, they enjoy the morning light, but not so much the afternoon light. And yeah, these guys are pretty hard to keep. They have a tendency to just drop down one day and die. This is my
like most challenging. Yeah, that is your second.
This is my second one. The first one I put in a terrarium and she did not make it. So we really tried with this one. She's doing well. She's growing a lot. She hasn't died yet. So
she has like how many new fronds? It looks like there's like 1, 2, 3,
like
4,
10 about them.
A lot. So she's doing amazing. She has like a couple things like this, but most plants will always have like they'll always lose leaves and stuff as they continue to grow. So that's not like a super concerning thing. I mean, if half of it is dying, then there's something going on.
Yeah, but these guys, even if half of it is crisped up, there's a high possibility it will come back because they grow pretty quickly.
They're resilient.
Yeah, they are pretty resilient. It could be like a dry stub, and if you water it every day, it might come back.
All right, so we have a special plant that we are going to show you guys. Do you want to like debrief them?
Okay, so I recently discovered this It's a cyad, so it's basically a plant that has almost like a bulb, and that's a trunk, like a modified trunk. But they date back even before the dinosaurs, but they're currently going extinct right now because of deforestation. So I was able to get my hands on one to cultivate it kind of in like captivity, you would say, to kind of try and boost the numbers. So depending on how many little offsprings they have, you can kind of reintegrate them into their natural habitat and have them growing again. So we're gonna show you guys what the plant looks like.
Wait, where do they naturally live? Like,
they're native to Mexico.
Oh, okay. All right, that's cool. So that means that they basically lived through the dinosaur extinction. Like, they survived, which was like massive because a lot of different animals and a lot of different plants went completely extinct. So it's pretty, I guess, pretty resilient plant.
Yeah, it's very resilient.
All right, we're gonna go and show you.
This is the prehistoric plant we were talking about. This is called a Dion edual, and these are the little leaves that come up. This is pretty premature because I got it shipped, so they probably cut the leaves back and they're just starting now to regrow. But these guys need a lot of well-draining soil, and they are tropics. That's why I'm keeping it outside with my other plants. They enjoy a lot of direct sunlight because, like I said, they come from Mexico. But these guys are pretty cool, I think. This is the cyad I was talking about, this nice bulb here, and then these are the roots. I gotta cover them up a little more. But these plants are pretty cool, and they're going extinct right now. So
What about the tendrils?
I did talk about them.
Look at them, they look so...
Don't touch them.
Okay, sorry.
They're growing.
Sorry.
But yeah, this is what it looks like, and I'm hoping it grows well here. They are frost tolerant, so that's why I decided to get one. So at the end of the summer or warmish time, so around October, November, these guys will die back into this bulb, and I can store it somewhere cold and just keep the soil moist, and it should come back next year.
So our final part of the video is going to be talking about the benefits that we get from having indoor plants. And I think the first benefit, and I think the most important benefit, is having a greater appreciation for nature. When you're the one who's watering them, making sure they get the proper sunlight, researching them to find out what they need to survive and thrive, you kind of get an appreciation for watching them grow, watching them develop. Even when they flower all the time, we're always going around the house like, oh my God, this one has a new leaf, this one has a new leaf. So it's just very satisfying to just see how they just grow and reward you basically for taking care of them. I think that's the biggest thing that a lot of people can gain from this, is if we all keep houseplants like across the country, across the world, a lot of people do, but not everyone, we can all have a better mentality of preserving the natural world and greater appreciating the natural world, I think. So,
and it also kind of gives you an appreciation for the different environments that these plants grow in. It's like, you can see how versatile, like the fern lives in the bog, and Calatheas are in the understory of South America. And it's just, you can really look at how important it is to preserve these environments so that other generations can enjoy them as well.
Yeah, and on top of that, I think a really interesting thing, like how you brought up the environment, is like you see all the variations that like Mother Nature is able to give us, and like how crazy similar all these plants can be, but they're also so different in the way they look and the way they function. So it's just really interesting to learn about why this Calathea is this coloration and why this other plant acts this way. It's all about its environment. So that's just like amazing. Like, it just makes you appreciate it that much more, because not only are you learning as you're taking care of them, but I feel like you yourself are also growing when they're growing, because you're becoming a better I guess like caretaker for plants, because you're learning more as you go, but you also become very knowledgeable of plants in general.
And it gives you something to look forward to every day, because you get around, like my morning routine is I get up, have a little bit of breakfast, then I'll go around to each plant and I'll say, hey, this one's doing well in this corner, or no, this person's not doing, this plant, this plant is not doing well in this corner, maybe I should move it here. And it kind of gives you a sense of like grounding. Like, you know what your house is like, you know what your plants are like, and it gives you something nice to look forward to every morning, and just it gives you like a purpose almost, especially in these times where we can't really socialize with a lot of people. You have your plants to look at every day.
Yeah, and I've noticed that a lot of people have gotten really into plants through quarantine, and just like everyone is bored out of their minds, especially people who have like, yeah, some of the states have opened up, but not a lot of people, especially people that are like autoimmune, what's it called?
Immunocompromised.
Yeah, like us, we're immunocompromised, so we don't really have, like, even when the stores are open and stuff, we try to stay in our house as much as possible. And having plants around, I feel like, has helped tremendously with like almost having like a purpose, because there was like this weird gray area where you like didn't know what to do. You didn't know, like, it was kind of just so weird. Like, you were kind of like thrown out of your natural routine and your everyday routine, and then you're kind of like, okay, like the world has stopped, like what do I do now?
But plants really like helped us make another routine, because we have our normal, everyone has their normal routine where you go to school or work, but then now where things are a little modified, a little more different, you
working
have
from
plants,
home.
you have something besides your work or your school to do.
Yeah, it's definitely like eye-opening how much plants can affect your mood. And another point is, plants kind of like, they've been proven in studies to affect your mood. They make everyone kind of a little bit more happier, because think about the people who live by themselves. Having a plant is like having someone else there. There's people who talk to their plants. Our grandma goes around her house every day. She's a huge plant person too. She goes around her house every single day and she talks to every single plant. And she says that they respond to her and they like acknowledge her like the next day if they have like a new leaf. She's like, it's because I was talking to them. Like, they're so happy. So that definitely affects your mood, because especially in these times, like, even if you feel like you're alone, if you're living on your own, you can't go into your family because everyone's kind of supposed to stay on their own. If you're not quarantining with the same people, you can't really go out and socialize with extended family, things like that. Plants are kind of like your family in that moment. Like, they're there to like support you, and you also support them because you're taking care of them. And it just gives you like a greater sense of you almost feel like, it makes your home feel more like home instead of just like a house. So that's like a huge benefit, is like a nice change in mood, and you just feel like a little bit content, because like with everything that's going on in the world, you might be a little bit like sad, or just so much going on, such a mix of emotions. So plants are just like that kind of stability of like, at least the plant is still there. So,
and it's not a relatively expensive hobby to get into. I think my favorite greenhouse at the moment is Dan Shant's in Allentown, and I think I spent $20 there and I walk out with like 5 plants.
It's not bad. It's really not bad. Unless you're buying like rare plants, which are like, the prices are skyrocketing right now. Unless you're buying like a super rare plant, you will most likely not spend like $200 on like 5 plants or something like that. So there's a lot of areas that you can go to that just sell reasonable priced plants.
Even Lowe's and Home Depot right now, since it's the summer months, you can get pretty cool plants there for pretty cheap.
Yeah. We've gotten plants from Lowe's for like $3.
Yeah.
They're really cheap. And if you know how to take care of them, you just have to make sure, like, as soon as you get them, make sure if they need to get like repotted, what kind of window you should put them in, so you make sure they're not like burned, like the leaves are burned or anything like that. Or you can get, even if you're not an indoor plant person, having outdoor plants has been like, in the summer is also awesome, because we have a bunch of outdoor plants and we go around and we check on them all the time, and we water them in the morning and in the afternoon. So that's also an option if you do not want to have indoor plants, because some people don't really enjoy that. So that's totally up to you. But let's get to our next point. So something that a lot of people don't really think about is indoor pollution, and it's basically the level of, I wouldn't say contaminants, but like things floating around in your air, I guess is the simplest way to explain it. So just like that, there's pollution outside, there can be pollution in your home, and that just comes from like cleaning agents, like oven cleaners. Some of that stuff goes into the air. So oven cleaners, beauty products like hairspray, nail polish, like that strong scent, that's like floating around in your air. So there's been actually a study conducted by NASA, and I will link this information in the description box so that you guys can also go and access it. But there's been a study done by NASA where they basically they put plants in one room where there was like an indoor pollutant. So it could have been, I think they did like some type of gas, I forget.
Formaldehyde, I think.
Yes, it was formaldehyde. So they put the plant in the room that had like formaldehyde, and initially they recorded how many parts per million was in the air, and each hour they recorded, and the longer that the plant was in there, the less parts per million of formaldehyde there was in the air. So they came to the conclusion that plants pretty much improve your air quality in your home. So don't believe the notion that plants take formaldehyde and they convert it to oxygen. I've seen a lot of that stuff floating around on the internet, but they basically absorb a lot of these pollutants out of the air, and that's great because then that's not stuff that you're inhaling and living with basically. But they also they give you not only do they improve your air quality, but just like they do outside where they convert carbon dioxide and sunlight to oxygen, they're also doing that inside. That doesn't mean that they're giving you like all the air in your house is because of the plants, but it just means that they're kind of exchanging the carbon dioxide that you breathe out into oxygen just like they do outside. So that's also like a benefit. You'll have, I know a lot of indoor pollutants, some people get very irritable by them, like they have allergic reactions and stuff. Like I know there's people who are allergic to dust and things like that. That's stuff that you have to take care of. But the stuff that's actually in the air, like the parts per million, like formaldehyde, I don't think people have formaldehyde in their house. But just things that, even things you don't really think about, like carpet, that releases things into the air. Household cleaning agents, wood products, heating and cooling systems can also play a part in that. So just keep in mind that like plants are they're kind of like protecting you, I guess. You can think of it that way, but they're pretty extraordinary and they're just fun to look at. Like if you don't really care about indoor pollutants, then they're just nice to look at. They're good for like house decor. You can hang them up. We recently hung up some of our plants. Yeah. And they just look so like majestic. They look so beautiful. So thank you all for watching this video. I hope that you all learned something or took something away from this video. Something that I guess you never, maybe if you looked at plants differently before, like, oh, they're just plants. But I hope that you got something out of this video. And thank you Jennifer for coming onto this video with me and just talking about plants. And I know she enjoyed it because she loves talking about her plants. She talks about them every single day. So I hope you guys got something from this, and I hope to see you soon. Bye. Bye.